Is he a good person? No. Do I love him anyway? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. What are we doing today? It's book club day. That's what we're doing. We are doing our book club stream for Vicious. So this has been on our list of books to vote for since the beginning, I think, of book club, and I've always kind of kept it on there. And this was gonna be the last month that it was gonna stay on there, because I do remove options from the nominations list after they've been on there for a while. And I was like, this will be Vicious's last month, so if nobody, if it doesn't get picked, I'm just gonna read it on my own. And then y'all picked it, and finally we get to do a VE Schwab book for book club, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited. So I finished this on the 27th, I think. It's now the 1st of September. And I actually had a notes pad that I was like keeping track of notes on. And I was like, I'm gonna remember all of this. I'm not gonna forget anything that I want to say. Everything's gonna be like all of these feelings that I have, I'm gonna remember so I can talk about them. I'm pretty sure I deleted the note. I went looking for it right before stream, and I had to I deleted 2 notes off the notes app because they were empty. I don't think one of them was empty. I think it was my Vicious notes. So, here we are. I do remember everything. Like, I remember the book. I don't know if I'm gonna, like, miss things that I loved about it or not. But, spoiler alert. First of all, I should always start with this, and I never do. Spoiler alert for Vicious. We're gonna go full balls to the wall spoilers on this book. So if you haven't read this and you want to, if you don't want to know how it ends or anything about it, I'm sorry, we're gonna go very hard spoilers, so just FYI. And spoiler alert for me, and what I thought, 4 stars. 4 stars. I loved this. This was so good. This was so good. So I knew it was gonna be good because I'm obsessed with VE Schwab. Like, fully obsessed. So I knew it was gonna be good, but it was so much fun. So all I knew going in was that it's called the Villain Series. I knew it was something about, like, superheroes or superpowers, and that both of the main characters in this were villains. Like, there are no good guys in this book. I'm kind of trying to... I never have a direction that I'm going with these. Like, I'm always, again, because I don't have notes, I am kind of all over the place in talking about these, so I'm trying to think of, like, the order that you guys answer the review sheets in, and kind of go in that order. So overall, 4-star book. I loved this. And then, what is it? We break down the story, the characters, and the writing style. Yeah? I think that's the order it goes in. First of all, characters, love them. Love them. My love for Victor Vale knows no bounds. I'm obsessed with this man. I truly am. I really, really love Victor Vale. Is he a good person? No. Do I love him anyway? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Are we questioning my love for Victor Vale? Is that what the question marks are for? Are we gonna get into this? Because you're the one that keeps saying that somebody's gonna get banned tonight. Did you not like this book? Are we gonna fight? Are we gonna fight? You know what? Okay, so here's the thing about Victor Vale. Because the whole thing here is that there are no good guys in this book. He's an awful person. You're not wrong. He's not a good person. He's a bad person. But I love him. His name kept reminding me of the Batman character Vicky Vale. Okay, so the entire time that I was reading this, I don't know how many of you watched Chuck, but in the very first episode of Chuck, Sarah walks in to the Buy More, and Morgan says something about Vicky Vale. She's really hot, and he's like, oh my god, Vicky Vale. And Chuck immediately starts singing,
Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale. Vicky Vale.
That's all I could hear. Every time I was like, Victor Vale, Victor Vale, the whole fucking book. He's a great person. So here's the thing. Nobody in this is a good person except for, they're like, nobody's like a good person, but there are exceptions. Victor is a bad person who I think doesn't necessarily want to be a good person, but he does make an effort to be a normal person, which I think is what really sets him apart. So again, I'm going to talk about this. I'm not going to go over like the plot and everything because I'm assuming we've all read it. Anybody watching this either now or later has read it. We all know the story. So he was obsessed with getting revenge. That he was. So Victor There's a couple lines that really hit me with Victor's character. One in particular is quite late in the book. So there's this question when they become EOs. So they die, and when they come back, they have these powers. And there's a question that's never quite answered. We still don't know for certain of, does everything come back? Are they still their full person, or is something missing? Because Eli firmly believes something's missing. Sydney's older sister firmly believes something's missing, but we don't know for sure. But Victor talks about the fact that he doesn't feel things like regret or consequence or guilt. He doesn't feel anything like that, but he remembers what they felt like. He remembers what they should feel like, and so he tries to operate based on that feeling or that memory, or like he makes an effort to behave as though he did feel those things, and that, I think, is what sets him apart. And he says early in the book as well, one of the times that he was at the diner with Angie, one of the times he's at the diner with Angie, he mentions that he doesn't feel things like normal people feel, but he recognizes how normal people feel, and so he orients himself based on that. He's like, I'm observing what is normal human behavior, and so I'm gonna act that way because that's what everybody accepts as normal, even though I don't feel that way. And so the fact that he makes an effort, the fact that he makes that effort, I think is what sets him apart from somebody like Eli, who is an asshole in a fully different way. He was an asshole before he was Neo. He was. I'm never going to say that Victor was a good person. I love him, though. I love him. I think he's a fantastic character. Because you get this guy that's kind of a huge dick. Even before he's an EO, he is a jealous, obsessive person who wants the things that he wants, and when he doesn't get them, he gets very upset about it. And he wants everything to revolve around him, and when it doesn't, and when the things that he wants doesn't work out, he can also abandon that thing. So that whole thing where, like, he tries to act like other people, and he tries to act based on these emotions that he observes in other people. He does that, but when it's not convenient to him, he'll abandon it. Full stop. He will just be like, no, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm gonna... Like, it's only when it's convenient to him that he can do that. He's like a sociopath that's trying not to be a sociopath. Exactly. When it's convenient for him to not be a sociopath, he makes the effort. But that's the thing you remember here. Everybody sucks here. In a Am I the Asshole thread of Vicious, everybody sucks here, with the exception of Sydney, Mitch, and Dole. The only people in this book that don't suck. And Sydney is learning some lessons she should not be learning, but I do love her as well. So yeah, I think I just love him as a character, because you get all these things where, like, he is an asshole, he is a jealous, obsessive type.
I'm
hey,
back, baby.
I was on the fence about joining a team, but as soon as the God said I can thing happened, I loved Victor so much more. As soon as he became, like, the religious, we'll get to Eli. We're gonna get to Eli, because I have thoughts about Eli and how much I hate Eli. But the thing that I love about Victor, because I'm still on that. He is an asshole. He is the jealous, obsessive type. He is violent. He is, like, out for himself. He is very much, like, not a good person. However, he does things that he doesn't need to that are good things to do, regardless of why. Maybe it's for his own self-serving needs, but he stops on the side of the road and picks up Sydney. When he sees a little girl walking alone in the rain, he picks her up. When they walk by a dog that's dying, he takes away the dog's pain for no reason. He didn't have to do that. That, you know what? It was as soon as he took away that dog's pain, I was done. I was like, this man, I'm in. I'm fully in. As soon as he took that dog's pain away, because he didn't have to. There was no reason for him to do that, except that he had compassion in that moment for that animal. I was done. You can be the worst to people. You can be the absolute worst person to real people and other, like, human beings. But if you're good to animals, wrap me up. I'm done. For every reason I like this character, you hated him. Aaron and I argued about about Victor so much. I love him. So yeah, as soon as he helped Dole, I was fucking sold. That man, I'm in. So then you kind of start putting those things together of, like, he does good things occasionally. He does things, even if it's self-serving, he has the capacity to do good things. And even when he does good things that sometimes are not for the good reasons. Like Dominic, all the stuff with Dominic, he's not doing out of the goodness of his own heart. It's because he's going to help him take down Eli, you know, still. Victor does what Victor wants at all times, and sometimes that just happens to align with being the right thing to do. But he does, I think, make an effort, and that's important to me. Now, Eli, on the other hand, this motherfucker, oh my god. Oh my god. I was really like, they flop it, because in the beginning you're kind of like, Eli seems like a better person, and Victor's a shithead, and then they flop real hard for me at a certain point. Because as soon as Eli goes into the whole, like, religious nut, I'm gonna take out these people because God said I can, because God told me to, and I'm God's chosen one, and I'm different from them. Fuck this guy. Oh my god. Oh my god. Because he doesn't even have his own code. Victor at least tries to have some kind of code within himself. Eli does not. He tells himself that he does, and at no point does he follow it. Because he tells himself that he only kills EOs, and he doesn't. His first kill wasn't even an EO. It was a normal person. Did I love the Darkling too? First of all, how fucking dare you? Absolutely not. That's a whole other discussion. That is a whole other discussion, sir. Anyway. Yes, Eli believes he is the only EO that deserves to live. Because it all comes down to this thing where to become an EO, you have to die, and then you have to have the will to come back. And so it's this sort of thing that, like, you can't quantify. You have to have just that need, that desire, and the will to live. So those two things, that's what makes you an EO. But he comes back, and he has the power to regenerate his own cells. He can heal himself, which essentially makes him immortal. I'm interested to see how that goes. And he decides, so we talk pretty early on. It's mentioned a couple times that he's religious. And then when he comes back, he suddenly decides that it's a crime against God, and it's now his crusade to take them all out, but not himself, because he's fine, he's different, but all the rest of them gotta go. Bro. Really? Really? So he tells himself that he's different and that he's good and he's doing the right thing because he only kills EOs. And so he stalks and hunts these people down, and he tells himself, like, I watch them for weeks at a time, I make sure that I have proof, I make sure that they are what I think they are, and then I kill them. And he does not follow that, because much like Victor, when it's not convenient for him to live by that code, he'll abandon it, because he kills regular humans, he kills his professor right off the bat, who, again, normal person. And then, to get rid of evidence, he kills the janitor, normal person. And these are all things that he tells himself are okay because they, if they lived, would get in the way of his own holy crusade. I wonder if Eli would survive lava. See, I have a lot of questions about Eli's healing. And one of the things I wondered is if you could burn him fast enough that he burned to ash, and then would he come back from that? Or would you just never be able to burn him faster than he could heal? These are questions I have. I equate Victor to 2 broken legs and Eli to death. If I had to choose, I'd rather have 2 broken legs than death. That's fair. That's totally fair. So, Victor I love, Eli I hate. Eli's a piece of shit. They both try... They're, like, 2 sides of the same coin in certain ways, in that, like... I don't know. They're just... The whole thing... So, keep in mind, the whole thing with Vicious that started, and I only know this because VE Schwab just answered this in, like, her Instagram stories, like, 2 days ago. The whole thing with Vicious... Somebody asked how she got the idea for it, and she wanted to see if she could write a book with no good people who you still rooted for. And could you still root for a character who was a bad person? And so that's, like, she just wanted to create a story with no redeeming characters or no good characters. Like, there's no good and no evil, no good side, no bad side. And are you still going to be able to root for those characters and find people to care about? And I think she did, because I'm in love with Victor. Truly. I love him. Turn Eli into a pincushion with swords. That was, okay, the most badass shit. The most badass shit was when Victor stabbed Eli, and Eli's like, you can't kill me. And Victor just looks him in the face and is like, you know what I figured out? You can't start healing until I pull the knife out. And then he starts twisting it. Oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. He was so cool. He was so cool. I love Victor. Is he a bad person? Yes. I feel like I have to keep saying that. I don't think he's a good person. I need you to understand this. I don't think he's a good person. But as a character, I love him. Oh, I love him. He's so interesting. He's so interesting to me. So he ends up in prison, and this is kind of where the one thing that like brings it, I think, from a 5 down to a 4 for me was the pacing and the sort of the timeline, because it took me a while to get into the timeline, because every few pages we're going 10 years ago, 2 days ago, a month ago, 10 years ago, 2 days ago, a month ago, 10 years ago. I'm like, I can't take it. I can't take it. I did eventually get into like the swing of things. I got into the flow of it, but it did take me a bit to get there. So yeah, the pacing kind of threw me for a bit. I did eventually get on board with it. And then I started actually looking forward to the different timelines we were going to be in, because I wanted to see more of Sydney, and I wanted to eventually get more of Mitch. Because if we're going to talk characters, and we're going to talk side characters, Mitch, oh my god. So if you've read Shades of Magic, Mitch heavily reminds me of, I'm gonna blank on his name, but the guard who is with Kel in the second book. He reminded me so hard of that character, and I love Mitch so much. This guy, I feel so bad for him, because you talk about there not being any good people. Mitch is a pretty good person. Is he a good person fully? No. Do I understand why he is the way he is? Yes. This motherfucker is fully cursed. I feel so bad. The fact that he just kept getting blamed for crimes that he didn't do, and eventually was like, you know what? If you're gonna put me in jail anyway, I'm gonna fucking commit the crime. Why not? Incredible. I love him so much. I was so afraid. The whole book, I was so afraid that he was gonna die. The whole time. And then they fucking fake you out with it. They do fake you out with it like more than once. And I got real worried. I yelled a couple times because I thought Mitch died. Mitch is such a sweetheart. Mitch is a good person. Mitch and Dole are the sweetest characters in here. And Dole is a dog. So, I mean, I love him so much. I think he wants to be Victor's conscience, maybe to an extent, but he doesn't really force the issue too much. So he should probably do that more if he's, you know. Mitch is who I want as a friend, but Victor is the one I crush over. I mean, I want nothing romantically to do with Victor. That man would be a nightmare to be in a relationship with. That man is a walking red flag. But I love him as a character. He is a wonderful character. Also, speaking of relationships, the fact that Victor and Eli are not gay is a hate crime. These two are so gay. I swear to God, the entire time, like the whole beginning of the book, until they mentioned that he had a girlfriend, I was like, these two are gay. That's absolutely where this is going. These two have to be gay for each other. And you know what? I'm here for it. And then they were like, Eli's girlfriend, excuse me? No, he needs to dump her immediately, so that he can get with Victor. And then she died, and I was like, oh, that's sad. Can you go with Victor now? Because that sexual tension, the sexual tension between Victor and Eli, oh my god. This is the second time, okay? This is the second time the VE Schwab has faked me out with characters that I immediately thought upon meeting were gay and were gonna have amazing sexual tension, and they didn't. Because let me tell you, the first time that they introduced Kel and Rye together, I thought they were gay. And then she says brothers, and I went, oh, what? Twice, ma'am. I'm just saying, there's still time. I don't know what's gonna happen eventually. There's still time. They could be gay. You know. Do I think they should end up together? No. But would the sexual tension be incredible? Yes. I need it. I'm so upset that they're not gay. It was the worst thing about this book, alright? That's what brought it from a 5 to a 4, was the fact that Victor and Eli weren't gay. So we talked about Mitch, Sydney, my girl Sydney, who I'm assuming, and I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming the comic book is about Sydney just because all I've seen of it, and I haven't read them yet because I'm waiting for the Illumicrate edition. I'm thinking she's the main character of that just because of the cover. But Sydney, my girl who can bring people back from the dead, love her. I also love her. The whole, like, found family that they get together of, like, Victor, Mitch, Dole, and Sydney, I love it. So Sydney, this poor girl, who can raise the dead, who drowned in a lake with her sister, and now her sister wants to kill her. So there were two, both Victor and Sydney had the same absentee parents, which was wild to me, of like, their parents just like left them alone to like go travel all the time. All the time. What? And I think giving both Victor and Sydney that kind of upbringing was intentional, because I think it's supposed to make Victor and Sydney, like, I think it's supposed to make her more sympathetic to him and vice versa. I think it's supposed to make him more sympathetic to her. But the fact that, like, she was so in love with her sister, she was obsessed with her sister, there was a big age gap there. Like 8 years or something between her and her older sister, and all she wanted was to be her older sister. And then she abandons her older sister abandons her, leaves her in this horrible, neglectful, toxic environment at home, and then when she finally gets to see her, her sister tries to kill her. Or, sorry, her sister's boyfriend tries to kill her, and she just lets it happen. What? I feel for this girl so hard, and I feel bad for her because she's learning a lot of really bad lessons. It's not good for her. It is not healthy for her to be with Victor. It's really not. But I am very invested in how she's gonna grow up now. It's fine, he's teaching her how to survive. He is! But in bad ways. Like, she's gonna live, and she's gonna be cool. She's gonna be very cool. But she is having to bring people back from the dead, so she's watching. She didn't watch Victor torture the guy. Good on Victor for that. And I did appreciate, you know, speaking of Victor being a good person, he did clean up the dead body that he tortured before he brought her in. So, you know, he's looking out for her. He's a good guy. But yeah, she's seeing dead bodies. She's seeing murdered people. She's seeing tortured people. They tried to kill her twice. They've tried to kill her twice now. She's not doing great. I feel for her, and I'm really interested to see where her story goes from here and how she grows up. But speaking of Serena, thank you for saying her name, because I have been calling her the older sister because I could not for the life of me remember Serena's name. Serena does indeed have one of the best powers. She is massively overpowered. So Serena can talk anybody into doing what she wants. So, like, you can't say no to her. It's impossible to say no to Serena. And that in and of itself is a very intense power already. And then as it goes on, you find out more things. The fact that it works across distances. So getting away from her, getting far enough away from her doesn't necessarily stop it. As long as she still has contact with you. She can do it over the phone, which is wild. As soon as she did it over the phone, oh, I was like, this is too much. She is way OP. And because it works on the dog, I'm inferring that it doesn't require understanding. Only her intent matters, because it doesn't matter if they speak the same language or understand the words that she's saying. As long as she has intent, she's good. And that is the most fucking OP power. Because my immediate thought was world leaders. Because all you have to do is get one phone number. You call one person at the lowest totem pole, and then you just work your way up and up and up until you're talking to the person at the top, and they will do anything you want. So, when Serena dies, I wasn't surprised. I was like, she has to die. You cannot keep her in here. She is way too overpowered to stay alive. So it made sense to me that she died, because oh shit, she was way overpowered. That was crazy. That was a lot. There's a lot of different powers in here, and I don't think we ever talked about how she got that power. Because the thing with the EO powers is that it's based on whatever your last thoughts were. So, like, Victor can give and take pain because his last thoughts were about how much pain he was in. Sydney can raise the dead because her last thought was about coming back and having a second chance and, like, come back, come back, come back. And now she can make people come back. But we never talked about what Serena was thinking. Because I would like to know how we ended up there. And that, as a concept, is also very cool. Like, just the way that these powers work, I think, is really interesting. Wasn't she thinking about telling Sydney what to do? Was she? I have no idea, because I don't know that we ever said. But that was just the most wild. Of all of them, the guy that can torture you with his mind, the guy that can heal and is immortal, the girl that can raise the dead, of all of them, the most overpowered person in there was the one that can just talk and make you do anything. So all that to say, the characters, phenomenal. Loved the characters. Even the characters that I hated, like I hate Eli, but I still think he's a good character. I think he's a good foil, at least, for Victor. I think it's a good thing to play him off of. So characters, I loved. The story, I was really into, except for the fact that, like, in the beginning, again, the timeline was really throwing me off. Her writing style is... I want to say this was pre-Shades of Magic. I can still hear her voice, like, in her writing, but it doesn't hit me quite the same way that Shades of Magic or Addie did. Nothing hits me the way Addie did. So I think I'm like a 4 on the writing style. I'm like a 5 on the characters. I'm like a 4.5 on the story. So overall, it's like a 4.5, you know. She's also she's the purple man from Jessica Jones. Exactly. You can tell, you can tell that it was her, or you can tell that it was pre-Shades of Magic. Because I feel like you can hear her voice in her writing. It's pretty distinctive. At this point, this is my 5th book by her. That it's pre-Shades. Because I think Shades, she super, like, hits her stride. This is my 5th book by her. Eventually my 6th. I'm going to read her City of Ghosts trilogy as well. And then I do still want to get the Dark Duet series. And then I would like to get Archives. Although I don't know if I'm going to, because legally right now she can't finish that series, and I don't know that I want to start a series that she legally cannot finish. I might wait for that publishing fiasco to work itself out. Okay, all that said, that was a lot. I did mean to make that more concise, and I didn't, but we are going to move on to your guys' reviews, which I'm very curious to see. Yara Felipa, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. I do recognize that a lot of the book club generally is audiobook, and there is no legal audiobook for this book, and the one that you can find that's on YouTube is awful. So I think we lost a couple people to that. My apologies. We didn't know when we started when we got this book nominated that there wasn't an audiobook, or that there was really a bad audiobook. My apologies. I do want to say, one of the books, so there's a 3-way tie right now for the September book. I haven't looked at it since we started this, so somebody else may have voted. There's a 3-way tie, and I went and looked. One of them does not have an audiobook. So, whoops. Alright, so, this is the first time in a while that, like, our audiobook percentage has been so small. Most of us did the physical book, 1 person did the ebook, and 3 of you braved the horrible audiobook. And for that reason, I did include an audiobook review that we'll have from now on. I think, Strider, you didn't get to do this because Who? Somebody misunderstood the question. Somebody misunderstood the question. No, absolutely not. So here's the thing about the audiobook for Vicious. You can't get it. It is no longer distributed. The only way you can find it is that somebody put it on YouTube. And the reason it was pulled is that VE Schwab didn't like it. At least I'm assuming that's why it was pulled, because I know that A, it was pulled, and B, she didn't like it. I'm assuming one was because of the other. I was listening to an Instagram live that she was giving once, and she mentioned that Vicious was the first book she wrote that ever got an audiobook. She was so excited. She loves audiobooks, and that she was just really excited to hear it, and then she didn't like it. She's like, it was bad. And then my fucking phone died, so I didn't get to hear why she hated it, but if you take 2 seconds to listen to it, you can tell. I could not listen to him get through the credits. It was so bad. His voice is annoying. His voice is very annoying. I don't know, man. I don't know. We also, if you want to have fun on the internet, go ahead and look at the catalog of audiobooks that man has done. That was weird. That was a weird trip down the internet. Anyway, somebody gave the audiobook a 5-star, and somebody gave it a 3-star. Strider, you say you gave it a 2-star. You said it was like a science teacher was reading it. Aaron said it was like listening to somebody read like a grocery list. Thoughts on the narration? Honestly, a good audiobook, and I constantly forgot I was listening to it from YouTube and on an actual audiobook app. Who? I have questions. Who was that? Terrible. Took me out of the story several times. I have no clue how that man got the job. I could have done better, and I'm illiterate. Completion set. Everybody finished it! When's the last time that everybody finished a book for book club? I mean, not everybody finished it, but everybody who responded finished it. Love that for you. Love that for you. Very proud of all of you. No DNFs. Okay. All right. Wow, what a split. What do we have here? What's our biggest pie? We have a 3-way tie for 5 stars, 4.5 stars, and 4 stars. Let's go. And then a couple of you gave it a 3.5. I'm not gonna kill you for a 3.5, but we will have words. There will be a stern word. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. But yeah, you know what? We all have taste. Everybody's got taste this time. Would you reread? One said no. I know some of you guys just don't reread on principle. Some maybes. Mostly yes. This might be our most well-received book club book yet. I had a feeling it would be. I really did. But it's nice to see. Okay. How would we all rate the story? Most people gave it a 5 on the story, a couple 4s, and 2 3 stars. A couple people that weren't digging the story so much. Okay. Most of us loved the characters. 5 stars for 8 of us on the characters. Somebody gave it a 4, a couple of 3s, and then writing style. How do we feel? Half-ish 5, half-ish 4, and then the other a 3. Okay, so overall, everybody pretty much liked it. A couple of people were like on the mediocre side. So, I'm excited. I'm excited. Here we go. So, I finally read something from VE Schwab's bibliography. Video game trophy notification. Wow, I'm gonna like put that. I should put that sound in the video. Superb book and refreshing for a landscape full of superhero stories. A bit odd, but for some time I've admired her enthusiasm for writing and some of the stories she's shared on her YouTube channel and during interviews. She has a YouTube channel? Why didn't I know this? Why did I not know this? Okay, well, I know what the rest of my night is going to be. The novel is more about the characters, their actions, morality, rather than the good guy fights the bad guy. I guess one way to describe it is it's a character study. It's definitely more character-driven than plot-driven. Although it is kind of both, but I think the character-driven really takes it. There's no clear-cut, run-of-the-mill good and evil characters. The authors mentioned this in interviews, and if I had to pick a side, I would say I'm Team Victor. As you should be. The entire idea of having near-death experience giving you extraordinary powers is pretty interesting, though obviously not based on any science and reality. It's superpowers, of course it's not. It was fairly obvious from pretty early on that Eli thought he was the best person in any room, when he actually was an arrogant twat that believed it was his duty to destroy anybody who had a special power like he did. I almost thought this was Aaron until arrogant twat. Victor wasn't a good person either, but since most of the story was written to make you feel like you should be on Victor's side, made it feel like you should root for him over Eli. Even though he was a twat in his own right, he at least kept trying to remind himself that he needed to not do the things that were wrong, even if he was not encumbered with a conscience anymore. See, that's what I'm saying! That he made the effort. He made the effort. I did like how by the end, there had been this motley collection of people who had nowhere else to be, so they ended up together. I love a found family trope. I truly do. I truly do. Even if they weren't all EOs. I understood why some of the deaths that happened had to happen, but I wish there'd been a better way for it all to resolve. At least Eli got his comeuppance in the end. After all of his self-righteousness of thinking he was killing in the name of God, all of history has proven nothing good ever comes from killing in the name of God. I am very curious if we're going to see more of Eli. Although I guess somebody kind of told us we are. I have questions about where we're going with Eli from here. We'll talk. This was the most elaborate story woven around the simple fact that two guys disliked each other I have ever read. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. I enjoyed the world, the characters, and the powers. The sections of the book were predictable, but there was enough story there to make it fun. As for the narrator, I have literally made note of the person's name and will never listen to another book narrated by them. Ever. I love this book! I love how the lines between good and bad are blurred, how you find yourself rooting for characters that are so obviously not the typical hero. The whole plot is driven by revenge, which is in itself not a heroic motive, but still wanted Victor and the gang to succeed. I find it fascinating how Eli and Victor deal with their powers. Even though Victor's the one with the powers that could potentially hurt other people, he ends up using them to help others throughout the story more often than not. Does he? Or is it kind of an even split? I mean, it might come out on top with that one. On the contrary, Eli's powers are the ones that are actually more self-benefiting, but nonetheless, he ends up being the one who hurts and kills other EOs. I love the found family trope, and Vicious delivers on that front. Does he use it more often to help than hurt? Because he uses it to help Dol, uses it to help Dominic, uses it to help Sydney, and Mitch to an extent. He uses it to torture the cop. He uses it against... Does he use it against Eli? I guess technically, yeah. When you weigh out the amount of people in this particular instance, it does come out with the helping on top. You know what? Good for him. Good for him. The best parts of Vicious were the characters. Victor and Eli were shit people. It's as if Schwab decided to give superpowers to the amoral rich assholes from Cruel Intentions. But the important part was that they were interesting characters. That's the whole point. She wanted to know if she could write a story, an interesting story that you would still care about when there are no good people. There's no good person. There's no good and evil. And she did it, and I love her for it. The rivalry / love affair. Is this you, Christy? Is this you, Christy? Are we one and the same on this? Was great, but by the end I was rooting for Victor and Eli to kill each other. Protect Sid, Mitch, and Dol at all costs. At all costs. The parts that fell a bit flat were the story and the setting. I don't have any specific criticism, except that I wanted something more to happen or for Victor to have a better plan. They're the same two chaotic idiots charging toward each other at the end of the story as they were at the beginning. As for the setting, Merritt felt really flat. I kept imagining it as a generic Hollywood set. I can totally agree with you there. There wasn't anything particularly special about Merritt. It was just kind of a place, which is fine. I don't think I necessarily need it to, like I think it's just supposed to be, like, an average American town. The writing style was a bit confusing in the beginning with all the time traveling back and forth, but once you got into it, it gets better. That's kind of how I was. It took me a while to get into it, but then once I did get into it and I, like, fell into the routine of it, I got it. The cat and mouse game between Victor and Eli would have been better if it wasn't one-sided, meaning Victor chasing Eli and Eli chasing Eos. I thought the most powerful character in the book, Serena, was taken out uneventfully and could have easily been transitioned into the main antagonist. Oh, I wonder if this is Aaron, because he also thought that. Making Eli look that much more of a fool when his partner betrays him and turns out to be a great villain. I enjoyed the story overall, even though some parts were predictable. I think I just wanted a little more villainy. I think this is Aaron's. Their background stories on how they got their powers always had me hoping they'd introduce a new character because every EO had a new... I loved that! Okay, I'm right there with you on that because every time we meet a new EO, I want to know what it was that they thought that got them that power. I am loving that. Love that. Agreed. I love the entire scene that led up to Eli's capture and how each character processed the experience, especially Sydney's perspective on her experience with Victor. 10 out of 10, we'll keep recommending to others. The way I felt off about Eli even from the start and the spiral into the monster while Victor went from feeling like a sociopath to not being the worst of them was so well written. I got caught up in their friendship and at times still rooted for them to end up together, which felt wrong but also fascinating to watch. They're gay. I'm choosing to believe they're gay. Victor's Sharpie poetry gave me hella emo vibes. It is legit my aesthetic. Oh, Christy, is this yours? I'm trying to think of who else would say hella. Yes. Victor's, oh my god, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a word for the poetry that he makes where you cross out other words to make, like we studied it in like a college English class, and I can't, as soon as you said hella, I knew it was you. I cannot remember what that's called. If somebody remembers, please tell me. But yeah, it's like the most emo aesthetic bullshit, and I love him for it. And the fact that it's all his parents' books, oh my god. Oh my god. My little emo baby. Any quotes that stood out to you? I also saved this one. This might be my favorite quote in the whole book. Plenty of humans were monstrous, and plenty of monsters knew how to play at being human. I think that might be my favorite. Blackout poetry, thank you. I should have known that. Victor smiled. He was having a wonderful time killing Eli. Ugh. The line when Eli tells him, when they catch Eli at the end, or he catches Eli at the end, and he's like, what do you, like, you can't kill me. And Victor's just like, I'm gonna have a lot of fun trying. Oh, he's so cool. He's so cool. I love him. Victor, my man. The moments that define lives aren't always obvious. They don't scream ledge, and 9 times out of 10, there's no rope to duck under, no line to cross, no blood pact, no official letter on fancy paper. They aren't always protracted and heavy with meaning. I love her so much. Ooh. If Eli was really a hero and Victor meant to stop him, did that make him a villain? No, it doesn't, baby! No, it doesn't! It doesn't. I mean, it does a little bit, but it doesn't. It doesn't. because you don't think I'm a bad person, and I don't want to prove you wrong. That, again, that just takes me back to, like, Victor tries. He makes an effort not to be the worst person in the world. And so he knows that taking Sydney with him to watch him torture this man is the wrong move. And it's because he wants her to think he's a good person. I love him so much. He's such an interesting character. I'm so into it. I don't get it. If you want to find Eli, and Eli wants to find you, why do you have to go through all of this? Why can't you just find each other? It's such like a kid thing to ask, but it's so, like, she's right. But it's such like, I love it. I love it. Ah, they're so gay! Because I know you, and I see you. They're so gay. You cannot tell me otherwise. I love this too! You remember me, and I'll remember you, and that way we won't be forgotten. So there's a couple things in here that made me think of Addie. That was one of them. And the other was Serena's power. Not necessarily her power, but her response to her power. And the idea that she wanted somebody to be able to say no to her, and she wanted somebody to fight her and for her power not to work on. Reminds me very much of another character from Addie. There's a couple things in here where I was like, I can see the early wheels of Addie turning in this. Eli rubbed his thumb over the fresh skin of his palm, but Victor was the first to speak. And when he did it, it was with an eloquence and composure perfectly befitting the situation. Holy shit. I think I also saved that one. I love this. Okay, so let me tell you, I thought Victor was a dumbass in the beginning because he starts talking about this thing that he's, like, the way that she words, and I think she wanted you to think this. So he's trying to figure out how he's going to kill himself and then how he's going to come back. And so he starts looking at this broken electrical outlet, and then he's like, okay, well then I text Angie. I seriously thought this asshole's plan was to text Angie, save me, and the address, and then electrocute himself, and then hope that she got there on time. I was like, what if she doesn't make it? What if she doesn't see the text? What if she's not close by? I thought he was a dumbass. But my man Victor, not stupid. He had a plan. He had a plan, and it worked. Did Angie die in the plan? Yes. But it still worked. Not everything works according to plan, but, you know, sometimes. I love that one too. Be lost, give up, give in. In the end, it would be better to surrender before you begin. Be lost, and then you will not care if you were ever found. I don't know if that's one that I saved, that's one that I remember. When you wonder something, doesn't that mean part of you wants to believe in it? I think we want to prove things in life more than we want to disprove them. We want to believe. As soon as he said that, I was like, okay, Mulder, calm down. He had never believed in fate, in destiny. Those things lurked too close to divinity for Victor's tastes. Higher powers and the dispensation of agency. No, he chose to see the world in terms of probability, acknowledging the role of chance while taking control wherever it was possible. Did I trip over that? And yes, I did. Leave me alone. This is why I don't read out loud. These words people threw around, humans, monsters, heroes, villains, to Victor it was all just a matter of semantics. I love Victor so much. I love Victor so much. When no one understands, it's usually a good sign that you're wrong. Love that too. Oh my god. What did I save? Okay, I know I had a couple in here. Yep, I had the holy shit one. Page 96. Victor Vale was not a fucking sidekick. Oh, my man. My man. I have page 130. His thoughts favored the immediate, the violent, the rash, the way a crippled man favored his good leg. I don't know, that one just stuck out to me. I had the plenty of humans were monstrous and plenty of monsters knew how to play at being human. And then, nope, that's a Cersei quote. That's the last one. Okay, what do we want or expect to see from Vengeful? So I have some thoughts on this, but actually not too many. Hard to say. Honestly, I can't shake the thought of anything can happen. Ah, I see. I see. Maybe both Victor and Eli die. At least one of them tries to reform. And if Mitch dies, I'm gonna go ballistic. I will kill if this. I've only known this dog for one day, okay? But if anything happens to him, I will kill everybody in this room and then myself. Me with both Mitch and Sydney and the dog. Yes. I would assume that Eli would be planning to get his revenge on Victor while in prison. I would also assume that Eli would figure that Victor would be brought back by Sydney, which is why he would be planning his vengeance. Vengeance. Fair. I want to see how many crazy powers everyone has and what they wished for that caused those powers to manifest. Honestly, I would read like just a fucking printout brochure of different people, the powers that they got, and what their last thoughts were. I want more villainous deeds and heroes. Show what people with better morals do with their powers. Okay. I'm partway through it already and hyped to see any new EOs and their backstories, but also what happens with Mitch and whether or not he stays cursed and what happens with Sydney and her powers. Plus, there's also the comics that I'm trying to wait until they all release to binge, but it's a struggle. So, in Vengeful, based on the fact that there's a woman on the cover, I'm assuming we meet new people. I don't think while they're... I mean, you could just leave Victor and Eli there. I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to keep seeing them. What I'm very curious about is how long... I want to see how long, A, Eli goes to prison for, and B, if it's long enough for anybody to notice that he's not aging. Like, that would have to be a pretty long fucking time. And I don't know that we're on that kind of timeline with Sydney and Victor and Mitch and everybody. Why does the woman on the cover have to do anything with the book? I'm just assuming. Because, we got Victor here, alright? We got Victor on the cover here. So I'm assuming the woman holding the guns on the cover of the sequel, kind of important. Could be a time skip. I do want to see, because, like, somebody has to notice at some point that Eli can heal. Whether he gets shanked in prison and doesn't have a wound, or somebody notices that he's not aging. I want to see how that turns out. But yeah, I really don't know. I don't know what we're going to do in the second book. I'm ready for Vicious Shippuden. I understand that that's a Naruto reference. And that's as far as my understanding goes. You've lost me. Anyway, so yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea where Vengeful is gonna go. The one thing that I didn't mention that I did not care for in Vicious, because she does it like 4 or 5 times in a row, is in all these, like, we kind of have the chapters that are like 2 or 3 pages long, and she did it like 4 times where somebody gets shot, and they don't tell you who. She doesn't tell you who, and then the chapter switches. And you're left thinking that it's somebody, but not knowing if it's somebody. Because I remember the one that killed me is when you think that Mitch is dead, because Eli shoots him in the fucking chest, and then it leaves. And then there's a couple times, I think the one where he shot Sydney, he, like, is looking at her and he pulls the trigger, and then the chapter ended, but it turned out that Dominic came and got it. Like, there's a couple, like, 4 times in a row where she does that, and I was like, once I can see, twice maybe, we gotta stop. We gotta stop with, like, so the only thing I don't want to see in Vengeful is one more chapter that ends with, and then they pulled the trigger, and we don't know who got shot, and you have to wait. I hated that. I was like, ma'am, please, once or twice. You don't need to keep doing this. But, yeah, one of the cuts was from one gunshot to another, which was pretty cool. I did remember that one. But yeah, so that, I think, is where we're at. That's where we're at. Let me take this down, and then we can go back to the regular screen, and we can talk about what the September book is gonna be. Alright, so we've got 20... Okay, so there's new responses, so I actually don't know where we're at now. So we've got 20 responses for the September book, okay? We're gonna find this out together, because I don't actually know where we're at. I have no idea, I haven't looked at this. In September, we are gonna read... Motherfucker! I mean, I haven't cast my vote yet, but we're either reading the Atlas 6 or Vengeful. So I am going to ask you guys a question. I'm going to ask you guys about this. The Atlas 6 does not have an audiobook. It's not like Vicious where you can find one like pirated. There's no audiobook for the Atlas 6. So Vengeful does have one. The Atlas 6 does not. What do you guys think? You know what? For the novelty of the fact that we have not yet ever had a sequel voted for, I will cast my vote for Vengeful and put us over the top. Wait, can I don't actually know how to vote on my own poll. I think I could do that, but I think it'll show my email. Anyway, we're gonna pretend that I cast my vote for Vengeful. So, our September book, the first time we voted for a sequel, is going to be Vengeful by VE Schwab. Wait, let me get back out of this. Here we go. And this particular copy was gifted to me by Steven, and as such, wait for it. Wait for it. Hang on. It's signed! I have a signed copy! Yeah! It's a signed first edition! And every time I see this cover, I think of Control. I think I'm looking at Control every single time. Tell me that does not scream Control. But yes, we are gonna hop into, I almost said Vicious again, Vengeful for our September book. I am proud of us. Look at us. We love, not only is it our highest voted ever book club book, but we also immediately voted for the sequel. Proud of all of you.